Welcome back to the channel. My name's Jackson. Today we're going to be going over the other side of the NFL. From my last video, we talked about new transactions, trades, and all their signings from this offseason. Everything that you guys may have missed. We're going to be talking numbers, years, how much each player got paid, big departures, big additions, even depth players as well. And let's just hop right into it. First, we're going to start in the NFC West. They did go after a good amount of players, starting with Tyler Algier, signed him for 2 years, $12.25 million contract. Isaac Semealu from the Steelers for 3 years, $31.5 million. Kendrick Bourne, a good veteran wide receiver. They restructured James Conner contract. They released Kyler Murray, so that's a big question mark at quarterback. I do think they might end up just going with Jacoby Brissett still. They restructured Sean Bunting, added some depth pieces here with like Billings, Wingard, Collier, Jonah Williams, Wilkinson, Gibbons, Sonovan Knight, like Devin Duvernay, like all these guys are just depth really. I mean, the only real pieces they signed was Algier, Semealu, Kendrick Bourne, and then releasing Kyler Murray overall. And they do still have a big question mark at quarterback. Next, we have the Los Angeles Rams. They didn't do a whole lot this offseason so far. They extended Tyler Higbee. They extended Cam Curl. They got Jalen Watson for 3 years, $51 million. They also traded for Trent McDuffie. So two big pieces right there at the cornerback position. And also signing Trent McDuffie to an extension, 4 years, $124 million. So they're putting out a lot of money right there just with corners, and that's pretty much why they didn't go after a lot of other people. With Jalen Watson, Trent McDuffie, and the re-sign or the extensions of Cam Curl and Tyler Higbee. That's a lot of money right there, but those are amazing moves for them, especially getting McDuffie and Watson on the team. I think that they're going to be very hard to beat next season, as you guys saw this season. Their offense was firing on all cylinders, and maybe the defense is going to step up next year, and when they need them most, they'll be there now. So I think this has been a pretty good offseason for the Rams. Now hopping into the San Francisco 49ers, they did make a good amount of moves this offseason. The biggest one being obviously the Mike Evans signing for 3 years, $42.5 million. Big boost to the wide receiver room, and I know that Mike Evans is getting a bit older. If they can give him 80% of his prime, like a prime Mike Evans, 80% of it, he's going to work out. That's going to be ending up going to be a good signing for them. So I like that for them. Them signing their kicker to a 4-year, $17 million contract. That is a little interesting to see. Especially at this rate, like kickers come in and out of the league all the time, especially if they're not playing well. They did extend Jake Tongas, as a depth piece behind Kittle. They did bring back Dre Greenlaw, 1 year, $6 million contract. I think that is a steal for them. Dre Greenlaw, I think, has still got some left in the tank. He's a good player. They cleared some space with Nick Bosa's contract, clearing up $17.1 million contract. They got some other depth pieces like Hobbs, Gifford, Corliss Waitman, punter from the Steelers. I like the Christian Kirk signing as well, 1 year, $3 million contract. He's going to play a big role. And Juwan Jennings is on the fence. He may come back, he may not. And same thing with Trent Williams. They don't really know what's going on with him either. So he's kind of on the fence. But overall, I thought the 49ers had a pretty solid offseason. They're definitely going all in right now, I think, to try and win in this window with now Christian McCaffrey, Mike Evans, Purdy. They're not getting any younger, especially McCaffrey and Evans. So I think they're going all in now. Now for the reigning Super Bowl champions, Seattle Seahawks. They did end up making some big moves this offseason, the biggest being obviously that Jackson Smith and Jigba, re-sign 4 years, $168 million. I think he's the highest paid wide receiver or possibly player in the league now. It's just absurd numbers. Ended up bringing back Jake Bobo. They, brought back Devon Witherspoon, some other depth pieces, nothing really notable. They did get back Rashid Shaheed, 3 years, $51 million. I think that's a pretty solid number and contract for them. And Josh Jobe signing for 3 years, $24 million contract. I think that's another good get at the cornerback position. They did lose some pieces, like Tariq Witherspoon ended up leaving. Some other pieces on defense, I think that they went to different teams. So we'll have to see how Seattle drafts this year. But it's going to be interesting to see, their changes from this team, because, whenever you do good, all the teams want your players. So it's usually how it goes when you win the Super Bowl. They did lose some pieces on defense, but you never know. They could reload and re-up just like that. Now moving on to the NFC South, starting with the Atlanta Falcons. They ended up releasing Darnell Mooney to clear about $7.5 million, signing Jahan Dotson, 2 years, $15 million as a little depth piece. Cordero Hodge, they released, clearing up some cap space, signed some depth pieces here and there. They adjusted Jake Matthews' contract to clear up about $10 million in contract space. They ended up also, Kirk Cousins left. They still kind of have to deal with his contract a little bit, but he's on the Raiders now. They signed Tua Tagovailoa, 1 year, $1.2 million contract. So him and what's his name? Gosh, I can't think of his name all of a sudden. Michael Penix are going to be fighting for the starting job. They restructured AJ Terrell's contract, so they cleared up $9 million contract with that. They signed Olamide Zaccheaus, another depth piece behind, Drake London. But other than that, and Brian Robinson, little running back depth piece. Yeah, Bijan Robinson and Brian Robinson now. So that's a pretty good running back room, I would have to say. But we'll see who their quarterback's going to end up. That's a big question mark going into this season. I would probably not give them the best score for this offseason. Tua is not really anything to me. And yeah, just mid overall, probably like a C. Now we move to the Carolina Panthers. They actually signed one of the biggest contracts from this offseason, with Jalen Phillips signing for 4 years, $120 million contract. A guy that's been hurt for, I don't think he played a full season until this last year. Before that, I think he was hurt in 2023 and 2024. But he's a great player. If he can stay healthy, they're going to use him very well. They also signed Devin Lloyd for 3 years, $42 million. They signed some depth pieces. Let me see who else. They cleared up some cap space for Derek Brown's contract, clearing up $13.5 million. Rasheed Walker isn't a bad left tackle. They signed him for $40 million. Mechie, depth piece. A lot of other depth pieces. AJ Dillon, depth piece. Like Felipe Franks. These are all like a lot of depth pieces. Their big takeaway was the Jalen Phillips signing. And they even got Kenny Pickett as backup quarterback. But I think that number for Jalen Phillips is a bit high with just his injury history. And, he's not even, I don't think he's even top 3 edge rushers in the league. So that's just my opinion. But, he's a good player. Just, I don't think he's worth that much. And now to the New Orleans Saints. They did a lot of restructuring of contracts. Chase Young, Justin Reed, Juwan Johnson, Kamara, all clearing up a bunch of money for them. Looks like a total of about almost $30 million. What is that? 16, probably 17 after those two, plus 14 and a half. So yeah, about $30 million cleared up just with 4 guys right there. They signed Travis Etienne to that 4 year, $47.4 million contract. And they also signed David Edwards, a guard who's amazing. 4 year, $61 million contract. They got Noah Fant, 2 years, $8.75 million contract as depth to go with Juwan Johnson. They were clearing out more space. Carl Granderson cleared up another $8.5 million. They actually signed Beanie Bishop, who was on the Steelers, but it says he's suspended for undisclosed violation. I'm not sure what that is about. And some other depth pieces, but nothing too crazy signing-wise besides the ETN and the David Edwards. But those are really 2 good players that I'm going to look forward to seeing on the Saints this season. It's going to be interesting how they use Etienne and Kamara now. Maybe could see Kamara being traded, or he requests a trade on his own. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But I think the Saints might be on the come up a little bit. And the last team in the NFC South is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They started off pretty hot, getting Cade Otton for 3 years, $30 million back on the squad, signing Kenneth Gainwell from the Steelers for 2 years, $14 million. I think that's a pretty good signing for them. Alex Anzalone from the Lions, 2 years, $17 million. Backup quarterback Jake Browning, Sean Tucker, depth pieces. Ashawn Robinson, 1 year, $10 million, prove-it contract. I like that. And just clearing up some other space, that right tackle, Luke Goddardek, I think is how you say it, cleared up $15 million in cap space. Miles Kilber, who's a captain on the Steelers for special teams, he ended up signing there. The Buccaneers took the Steelers special teams coach, so Miles Kilber followed in footsteps. But other than that, I think they signed some small pieces like Kenneth Gainwell and Anzalone, but nothing crazy. I do like those moves, though. Bringing back Otton, getting Gainwell and Anzalone. I think Gainwell and Bucky could be pretty crazy together, but we'll see how the splits work out. I'm interested to see if they really think Bucky's the guy, or if they give Gainwell a lot of run, which I'm kind of leaning they might, because Gainwell just coming off of a career season last year, so it'll be interesting. Now moving to the Chicago Bears, we'll start with Devin Bush. They ended up signing him for 3 years, $30 million contract. I'm not a really big Devin Bush fan. He was on the Steelers, who's my team, but he did get better. I think on the Browns, he actually did get a little bit better, but 3 years, $30 million, that's not a bad contract for him. They ended up trading Garrett Bradbury they got Garrett Bradbury from New England. Some other depth pieces like Street, Cam Lewis, Cleve Raymond, Braxton Jones, Case Keenum. A lot of depth pieces. They did get Kobe Bryant, though, 3 years, $40 million. That's a big signing for them. He's a good safety. Gallimore, 2 years, $10 million kind of prove-it contract. But, not a whole lot of big signings or anything like that. I think the Bears are kind of in some cap trouble as well, so there's not really much room to mess around with any money right now. I mean, they could try and clear up some cap space, but we'll see what Ben Johnson and the GM are up to. But I do like the Kobe Bryant signing for 3 years, $40 million. That's gonna be huge for them, because they did lose Jaquan Brisker. All right, now to everyone's favorite. All right, now to the Detroit Lions. They started off by releasing Glasnow and Taylor Decker, creating about $16 million in cap space right there. They signed Cade Mays to a 3-year, $25 million contract, get that O-line back after releasing Glasgow. They signed Pacheco to be behind Gibbs. Now they don't have Montgomery. They cleared up some cap space with Jared Goff's contract. They signed Tyler Conklin as a little depth piece. Just a lot of depth pieces. I mean, Wanham, Clark, McCreary, even Chuck Clark at the top, Teddy B, a lot of depth pieces. But really, I think they're in some cap trouble too. So I think that them, releasing Glasgow, Decker, restructuring Goff's contract, I think that's going to help them in the long run. But their window, I think, is closed. I don't think they have the best team anymore. But yeah. Now moving on to the Green Bay Packers. They ended up restructuring Xavier McKinney, who's a great player. They restructured his contract, clearing up $9 million in cap space. Released Rashawn Gary, that's surprising to me, but cleared up about $11 million in cap space. Same thing with Elkton Jenkins. They cleared $19.5 million of cap space with him. So they are getting rid of these players left and right to clear up cap space. They ended up trading for Zaire Franklin, signing a lot of depth pieces. I do like the Javon Hargrave signing for 2 years, $23 million. And they restructured Zaire Franklin's contract, and it ended up being 2 years, $18.01 million contract. I like that signing as well because they traded for him. But releasing Rashawn Gary and Elgin Jenkins, they're just clearing house for some cap space. But it was surprising to see both of them get released. They are pretty good players, and they ended up signing elsewhere. Now for the Minnesota Vikings, hopping right in, Justin Jefferson got his contract restructured a little bit, clearing about $18 million of cap space. Christian Darrisaw got his restructured, $9.24 million in cap space, and then Eric Wilson ended up signing with them, an extension for 3 years, $22.5 million. James Pierre, who was graded really highly, went on the field for the Steelers last year, 2 years, $8.5 million contract. I was sad to see him leave the Steelers, but he followed a lot of Steelers coaches that ended up leaving, and Brian Flores is over there. He's going to use him tremendously. Byron Murphy cleared up some cap space, restructuring his contract. Aaron Jones signed a 1 year, $5 million contract. They released Javon Hargrave, as we just saw. He signed somewhere else already. Harrison Smith, I think, retired. Jonathan Allen, he's on a different team now. Kyler Murray, they did sign for 1 year, $1 million. Prove it. This is it for, Kyler Murray. If he does good, he'll probably get an extension. And they're also keeping Jordan Addison on that 5th year option. But other than that, a lot of other depth pieces, clearing up cap space. Darrisaw and Jefferson, their contracts are pretty big, so. Now going into the last division, we have the NFC East, starting with the Dallas Cowboys. They restructured a lot of contracts right off the jump. Dax, Tyler Smith, CeeDee Lamb, creating, 37, almost $60 million in cap space right there. Then they, they got the second round tender with Brandon Aubrey. They signed TJ Bass 1 year, $5 million, a depth piece. Some other depth pieces, restructured Terrence Steele's contract. They signed Jalen Thompson, who's a pretty good safety, 3 years, $33 million. Jonathan Mingo, depth piece. Kenny Clark, creating some cap space, about $9 million with that. They did get Rashawn Gary from the Green Bay Packers. As we just saw, he was not on their team anymore, and they signed him to a 2 year, $32 million restructure contract. But other than that, they didn't do a whole lot. I think that, they were in some cap trouble too, and they might have to pay George Pickens here coming up. So it'll be interesting to see how they play, George Pickens' contract coming up here. And they got Rashawn Gary, who I think is a pretty good defensive player. But yeah. Now hopping over to the New York Giants. They got new coaching now. John Harbaugh is at the helm. Isaiah Likely followed with him, signing a 3 year, $40 million contract. I think that's a bit much for him. For Isaiah Likely, he's a great player, but that's a bit high, I would say. They did sign Tremaine Edmonds as well, 3 years, $36 million. Jermaine Alunamore, I think is how you say it. 3 years, $39 million contract. Greg Newsome, 1 year, $8 million contract. I like that signing. A lot of other, depth pieces, Pat Ricard, Evan Neal, Calvin Austin, depth piece. Brian Burns, they cleared up his cap space with him, creating $15 million of cap space. Signed Darnell Mooney, 1 year, $3 million. Elijah Campbell, Graham Gano clearing up some cap space. But the big thing is coaching here. They have a new coach. We'll see what happens with Dart in this offense. I think Harbaugh could turn him into something great. He was pretty cool to watch last year, but I think maybe Harbaugh takes it to the next step this year. And he's got some weapons with Neighbors and Likely now, and we'll see what they do in the draft. But hey, they might be turning around for the Giants. We'll see. Now we have the Philadelphia Eagles. They extended Jordan Davis, 3 years, $78 million, which I think is absurdly crazy for a guy who doesn't play on the field every snap. And they still have Jalen Carter, so who knows what they're going to do. Tariq Woolen, they signed 1 year, $12 million. They re-signed Landon Dickerson for an extension, three 3 years, $58 million. Calcaterra's coming back. Michael Carter as a little depth piece at corner. Goddard coming back. Andy Dalton, depth piece. A lot of Marquise Brown, I forgot about him. He signed as a depth piece. Same thing with Dameon Pierce. Marquise Brown will probably get used though pretty often. Elijah Moore, Joe Tryon, like a lot of depth pieces. Nothing crazy this offseason besides the Jordan Davis, the Landon Dickerson extensions, and then obviously the Tariq Woolen. Pretty good contract right there. 1 year, $12 million. So I like it. Last but not least, we have the Washington Commanders. They extend a few depth pieces down at the bottom there. They released Marshawn Lattimore, clearing up $18.5 million cap space. Bring back Treylon Burks. They extend Laramie Tunsil 2 years, $60 million. Amik Robinson signing 2 years, $15 million. I like both of those moves. Laramie Tunsil's contract is a little high for me. I did not expect him to be getting $30 million a year, but he is a pretty good player. I like the Odafe Oweh signing 4 years, $96 million. He's going to be a good player for them to have. Tim Settle, 3 years, $23.5 million. Leo Chanel from the Chiefs, he's a great signing, 3 years, $24 million. Not that high of a contract. He's a great player too. Chico Okonkwo, 3 years, $27 million. That's a good player to have. Rashad White, Van Jefferson's washed, but depth piece. Jerome Ford, depth piece. Diami Brown, bringing back him. They brought back Jeremy McNichols, KJ Osborne. They got some depth pieces signs, but I think that Odafe Oweh signing, the Emmitt Robinson, releasing Marshawn Lattimore, who was god awful for them. I think Leo Chanel is a great signing for them. Their defense will be revamped, I think, this season too. So we'll be on the lookout for them. But overall, hope you guys enjoyed. I like making this kind of content. I love talking about the NFL and numbers. And pretty soon we'll be talking about fantasy football on this channel every single week. I can't wait for that time. If you made it this far, I would really love if you liked and subscribed. That would make my day. And it helped me out a lot. But other than that, I hope you guys enjoyed, and we'll see you in the next one.